Hello, welcome back to my channel and to another reaction video. This time we'll be checking out the Prologue Greater Terran Union Stellaris Invicta.
On April 22, 2089, military space surveillance satellites from 9 separate nations began tracking a group of objects that had entered the periphery of the solar system. Within weeks, these objects had been picked up by civilian observatories, and when they became public knowledge, the members of the United Nations Security Council revealed that they were almost certainly artificial in nature and on a direct course with Earth. When the ships finally arrived in orbit on February 17, 2090, the outcome was apocalyptic. A hastily assembled orbital defense network was swept aside, and powerful alien weaponry annihilated dozens of cities in the opening few hours. Whether this strike was meant to force some sort of unconditional surrender or the first step in a genocidal campaign was never determined. A coordinated intercontinental ballistic missile launch from silos and submarines across the world disabled the largest and seemingly most powerful alien warships. Further orbital bombardment would be limited and sporadic. Over the next 7 years, mankind fought a desperate war across the world. In ruined cities and ash-choked landscapes, remnant military forces engaged a horrific enemy whose advanced technology and resources made defeat seem inevitable. Over a third of the planet was occupied, and those who managed to escape brought with them reports of horrifying alien atrocities and spires which poisoned the atmosphere around them. But even in the darkest ruins of the world, far from the front lines, there were those who resisted. An improvised emblem meant to mark the location of hidden munitions and clandestine airdrops slowly grew into a worldwide symbol of defiance. It was painted onto tank barrels and aircraft wings, carved on the stocks of rifles, emblazoned on artillery shells, and branded on the corpses of the enemy.
Not going down
when
there,
humanity
Daisy.
achieved the unthinkable and the last remnants of the alien armies retreated from the solar system, this symbol was placed on the flag of a new nation, one that united all of mankind, the Greater Terran Union. Yet in its earliest days, it existed simply as a last-ditch effort to prevent the complete collapse of human civilization. While the enemy had been defeated, the planet was in ruins. The global economy had been erased, famine was rampant, and the highest governing bodies of every major state had been destroyed, alongside tens of millions of their citizens. As the last organization still capable of operating effectively, an international coalition of various military forces assumed the responsibilities of civil governance. With the survival of humanity in question, the measures taken were severe: strict rationing, a mandatory one-child policy, and widespread martial law. Every available resource was put toward reconstruction, and opportunities only afforded to those whose knowledge and expertise could directly benefit this great effort. Millions more would suffer and die in vast relief camps where the barest necessities were exchanged for grueling physical labor. The price was immense, and even those in the highest echelons of the provisional government were horrified by the actions taken to preserve civilization. Across the decades, however, the situation began to improve. Crop yields increased, global communication was restored, cities were rebuilt, and the harshest measures imposed on the population were repealed. Eventually, manned space flights resumed, and the dissection of derelict alien starships still in orbit revealed astonishing new technologies and fields of study. Every effort was made to prepare the planet for a second attack, but by the middle of the 22nd century, it had still not arrived. In 2153, plans were announced that would see the emergency military coalition dissolved, replaced with either a worldwide civilian government, or perhaps, according to a few proposals, divided into several sovereign states resembling the pre-war nations of Earth. In a planet-wide referendum, the first and only one of its kind, the fate of humanity's post-war government was left in the hands of its people. In an
Damn,
unexpected
that's
landslide,
unexpected.
humanity placed its faith in the system that had led them through Reconstruction, transforming the emergency military provisional government into the sole governing body of the human race. On July 11, 2156, the Greater Terran Union was proclaimed. The most striking aspect of this new society is the implementation of a tiered citizenship structure. A mandatory 4-year period of national service, either within the military or other recognized institution, grants every citizen certain rights, while higher tiers and their associated privileges and responsibilities are typically accessible only to those who have achieved a high ranking within the Union's national reputation system. Citizenship tiers determine everything from the type of employment a person is allowed to seek and whether limitations exist on their freedom of movement, all the way down to the amount of water allotted to their showers each month. The system remains fluid, with citizens often gaining and losing tiers multiple times over the course of their lives. A reduction in a citizen's tier is one of the most common sentences for minor crimes, with usually specific criteria assigned for its reinstatement. While advances in technology and production mean that even the lowest tiered citizens can enjoy comfortable lives, the system serves to promote duty to the state and a responsibility to humanity as a whole. It also acts as an effective tool used to combat wastefulness or corruption, albeit at the expense of personal liberty. The predominant status of the military within the Union's citizenship structure means that almost every position of authority is held by individuals who have either completed their service or remain a part of the armed forces, with rare exception. While the government and military remain nominally independent of one another, the Greater Terran Union has increasingly come to resemble a stratocracy as the lines between civil and military service become harder to discern. Executive power is held collectively by the National Council, composed of 21 marshals, each responsible for leading one of the nation's federal executive departments. Criticism that this council has been too slow to respond to time-sensitive issues and too weak to lead the powerful federal bureaucracy has led to the appointment of a High Marshal, a position accorded the status as first among equals and granted special representational duties. Marshals are typically appointed to serve a 20-year term, although various circumstances can result in longer or shorter periods of service. Legislative powers are held by the National Assembly, a unicameral body that has grown to become almost ceremonial in nature, having rarely rejected a government proposal in its history. While a de facto single-party state, various opposition parties approved by the Greater Terran Union maintain nominal representation within the Assembly, although all must remain subordinate to the national interest. Both the National Council and Assembly are headquartered in London, owing to that city's status as one of the first major metropolitan areas restored in the post-war era. London also serves as the regional capital of the Albion Commissariat, one of 17 administrative divisions established across the world. These commissariats roughly correspond to the borders of pre-war nation-states, such as the United States of America or the European Federation, while others govern large sections of the world in such a way never before achieved. A principal goal of the commissariats is to foster and promote the cultural dimension of worldwide integration, in which pre-war nationalist, religious, sexist, and ethnic divisions are eliminated. While no single language has been granted official status, Arabic, Chinese, English, Hindi, Russian, and Spanish are predominantly used in internal affairs. Proposals for a single global language have occasionally been made, without success as of yet. The state's policies emphasize a diversity of identity, combined with a commonality of values with individual practices and beliefs tolerated, so long as they do not conflict with the core tenets of the nation. The ability for every citizen to participate in the civil and political apparatus of the state without discrimination or repression is one such tenet. Not in the pursuit of any utopian ideal, but rather in the pragmatic belief that natural talent which might benefit the human race must be supported regardless of who possesses it. The most critical element of the Terran state is the armed forces, which retains the ability to assume direct control over the nation in the event its civil leadership were killed or incapacitated. Land Force Command remains the largest and primary branch, responsible for the operational readiness of the nation's conventional ground forces. A wholly mechanized army, it utilizes a combined arms doctrine in which an enemy's forward defenses are broken by overwhelming force, at which point fresh, uncommitted mobile operational reserves are sent to exploit the strategic depth of an enemy front. Air Command is the second largest branch, dedicated to achieving air and space superiority as well as facilitating rapid global mobility and strategic bombing. Advancements in aerospace technology has seen the deployment of Air Command assets across the solar system, typically unmanned satellites and drones, but also manned squadrons and picket ships. Smallest among the major services is Fleet Command, which maintains a largely automated armada of ballistic missile submarines that continuously circle the globe in anticipation of a second alien invasion. As developments in space continue and larger ships are constructed in orbit, there have been renewed calls to transition the service into the Terran Union's Space Warfare branch and the creation of a separate maritime service. Land, Air, and Fleet Command all maintain their own separate component services, including specialized naval and orbital infantry, as well as distinct special operational forces. Units across all three services have inherited the traditions and customs of previous armies and units from across the globe, resulting in an eclectic military culture. While the supreme goal of the military, and by extension the Greater Terran Union, has been to defend Earth against any further attack, in recent years a new objective has been declared. Advanced technologies have pushed the boundaries of human expansion, and the devastation wrought across the Earth has left an insatiable need for raw materials and resources. Already, the first mining and research outposts have been established across the solar system, and construction has begun on a wave of starships that will depart for distant worlds. A generation of sacrifice and hardship will soon be rewarded, for as mankind prepares to embark on the greatest journey in its history, it marches towards this uncertain future united in purpose and determined to never be caught unprepared again. Every wonder encountered shall be utilized, every terror overcome. And when those responsible for the murder of millions are found, every injustice will be repaid 100 and then 1,000 times over. The entire galaxy will know that they came to the wrong neighborhood and knocked on the wrong door.
That's pretty epic. Well, there you have it, folks. That was the Greater Terran Union, and yeah, this was a really interesting video. This Stellaris Invicta. This is my introduction into this new fantasy universe. So yeah, I really dig the shot from the black hole in space. That's just really dope. Again, as always, Template Institute uses some really beautiful artwork in their videos. They're always so it's fun to watch and listen to. So yeah, we start with Earth being attacked by some alien race. They didn't really specify for what reason they came, but they came and they laid waste to an humanity. I was surprised that nukes actually work this time. Usually in movies, whenever an alien invasion happens, nukes won't do shit. But okay, here they disabled their largest fleets, but still, their superior technology almost put them on the brink of ruin. But yeah, it was really hopeful to see humanity, and they managed to beat them. And yeah, here we have the symbol for that. First started out as what they used it to mark, bases and ammunition depot or whatever, but it in the end became a global symbol of resistance, and eventually they defeated the aliens. They fucked off from the solar system. Again, why did they attack? I'm very interested to check out more about this universe. Not gonna lie, they had some great designs, their ships and whatnot. But yeah, and then after in the aftermath, all of Earth's governments and institutions are pretty much destroyed, and United Nations or whatever forms the kind of military, all the remaining military the planet forms into this military. It sounded a little bit like dictatorship, where civic people are introduced with civic duties, and some liberties are taken away and whatnot. And yeah, the first generation after the Great War is pretty much a hell on Earth. People are shocked to everything that's happening. Cool design. But yeah, but one generation of hell, and after that, things starts looking up when all the technology they get from the alien ships starts bearing fruit, and you start to see mass development and whatnot. Oh yeah, and at this point they mentioned they introduced civic duties and all that. A bit mentioned that yeah, if you try to implement something like that in the modern world, in many countries, I think the moment you say something about yeah, okay, some civic liberties may be taken away, people would go in an uproar. But yeah, this after seeing global destruction, people might very well think differently. But a lot of cool stuff. Then you have your introduction to the three militaries: ground force, air force, and a bunch of aerial drones with ballistic missiles, submarines, and shit. And yeah, eventually humanity started to travel to space, and the need for resources has led to them starting to colonize the solar system beyond. And I did like the ending where she was talking about how, yeah, the aliens picked the wrong neighborhood to attack. That's fun. But yeah, this was a great video indeed, and yeah, can't wait to get further introduced into this new universe. Hope you enjoyed my reaction. Drop a comment, drop a like, subscribe if you want, and I will see you in another video.